This is Catherine.
Hi, this is Sabrina.
Hey, this is Bill.
Hey, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm trying to get my stinking video to work. Let me try it again.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
You are?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Art.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah.
Those little packages of tartar sauce are in the door.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Lewis.
I can hear Lewis.
Thank you.
I don't.
You notice
Try it again.
a self-portrait behind me.
Self-portrait behind you.
That was funny, Lewis.
Art, the brightness of the window behind you is putting your face in complete shadow.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on. What about now?
Okay, there it goes.
Better?
Much better.
Let me go ahead and mute it or keep it on. Ooh, something's weird. There's a lot of static. It's recording already.
Yeah, it is recording.
Okay, I'm assuming everybody can hear me. This is Catherine. You just can't see me. Is that true?
Catherine, are you on 296 number?
Well, I'm attempting to launch the meeting, but it doesn't seem to be working well. I can continue doing that, but I can continue to run the meeting without seeing you guys. I can handle that.
There you go.
Okay, so if everyone could be a little patient to get everybody connected.
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I think it's on Catherine.
I suggest that if you're not speaking, mute your microphone. That'll help.
Can you guys see me? What did I do?
I can hear you.
Can you see me, though?
No, your picture's gone.
Okay.
Hit start video.
This is Chris, I'm here.
Oh, there it is. Now?
Chris, are you calling in or are you on a computer?
I'm calling in.
Okay.
Okay. I gotta rename them. That's Chris.
I'm here. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I'm on. It's Beth.
Yeah, we can hear you, Beth.
We can hear you, Beth.
Okay, let me try to identify some of the colors. If the color that's on a 2975751 line, could you speak? Okay. There's a caller on a 7453648 line. Could you identify yourself?
That's Sabrina Washburn.
All right, hold on, Sabrina. The caller that's on a 3008781 line. Could you identify?
That's me, Bill Flickinger. It's Linda Fobb.
Okay. Okay, and the color on a 2034091 line.
Paul Bearswell.
You identify yourself again, sir.
Sorry?
Your name again?
Paul Bearswell.
Okay. And we have someone that's on a 2975751 line. Could you identify yourself? Okay, we still have one unidentified person that's calling in on 512-297-5751. Could you speak, please?
That's, Bill, that's me. That's Catherine.
Catherine, okay. Okay, so right now, Catherine, it looks like we have Diana and Jimmy from Sage Management, Julie Potts, Beth Jones, Art Madrano, Jan is still trying to connect, Lewis is on, Sarah Teal, Gordon from Valenti, you, Sabrina Washburn, Paul Bearswell, and if I didn't already say, Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal. So I think we're probably ready to start if you are, Catherine.
I'm here.
Okay.
Jana.
Hi, Jana.
Oh, Jana. Okay, good. Okay. Okay, so since I'm not, for whatever reason, Zoom is not launching for me, Bill, what I'd like to know is who wants to talk make a comment in part of the open part of the front of the meeting. Linda, I'm assuming you do, and Sarah. Paul, did you want to make a comment? Paul?
Yeah, I was just calling concerning the countess.
Okay, so you want, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that I've got everybody on my list who is going to make a comment at the front end of the meeting. Beth, were you going to make a comment at the front end of the meeting?
At the front end, no, I'm not.
Okay, okay. So let me get my agenda up here. And then I will go ahead and start the meeting. And where's my stupid agenda? I had everything opened and all ready to go. Here we go. Okay. Okay, I am officially going to call this meeting to order, and I'm going to open up the public comment section of this meeting. And I'm going to start with Linda. Linda, you've got your 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Catherine, do you want me to follow with my agenda items after my public comment?
Yeah, that would be great. What agenda items did you want to talk about?
Item number 13 and item number 9.
Okay, go ahead.
Ready? Okay, so
Yeah.
my public comment is this. On December 13th, 2019, I submitted a letter with 2 separate concerns to the management committee of this board, Chris Rocco and Art Madrano, describing concerns I have with the selection of Sage Management as the deed enforcement contractor, and documented evidence that Sage Management has been and continues to lie to residents regarding the requirements outlined in their deeds. After 16 weeks without any communication from Art or Chris, I forwarded my concerns to Catherine Franke on March 31st, who in turn forwarded them to Attorney Bill Flickinger and to Louis Zervigon so that the Deed Restriction Committee could discuss them. In summary, after 16 weeks, here is where we are. I have received no response, and I have not been given an opportunity to discuss my concerns directly as I requested. I observe that the actions have been taken to revise the Sage Management contract rather than enforce it. And now the board is proposing to remove the provision to require the contractor to cite the specific deed violation in their communications with residents. This leads me to ask, what is the process to get concerns addressed directly by the board members without them involving or hiding behind legal representation to address constituents? What justifies a reduction in requirements of the deed enforcement contract so that it aligns with the incompetence of the contractor rather than enforce the terms agreed to, particularly when there has been no provision in the proposed revised contract to reduce compensation accordingly? By not requiring reference to specific deed violations, the board proposes to give the contractor free rein to cite residents with impunity. Agenda item 9, requests by neighborhood associations and homeowners associations. Specifically, Beth Jones's letter to the board regarding recognition of an ACC for Anderson Mill West. I would like to go on the record that there are no provisions in any of the deeds for Anderson Mill West and no real property recording filings in Williamson or Travis County for the assignment of ACC authority to any third party, i.e. the Anderson Mill West Voluntary Neighborhood Association. The Community Forum for WTCMUD1 is a voluntary neighborhood association that helps neighbors protect their rights. If you are approached by Sage Management in person or in writing and question the legitimacy of what you're being told, we want to help. Reach out on Facebook or email forum WTCMUD1@gmail.com. Agenda item 13, the Sage Management Contract. The proposed amendments to the Sage Management Contract has changed so significantly that it is effectively a completely different set of services and deliverables. It is also anti-resident and attempts to remove the protections provided to every property owner as outlined in their deeds. One notable example, and where the Community Forum has found that Sage has lied to residents on multiple occasions now, is the provision that made it mandatory for Sage to link a specific violation to a specific language in the applicable deed. You've made Sage's current practice of lying about what the deed actually says an acceptable practice. Effectively, you're voiding the original contract and creating a new one without competitively rebidding it. Much of the contract deliverables being removed are items that Sage Management has not performed since the inception of their contract. I will remind this board that you gave Sage Management an additional $500 in startup costs to procure the database software that was a requirement of the successful bidder. Now you've dispensed with the database requirements altogether, and Sage is free to maintain the district's data in a spreadsheet or on a Big Chief tablet or any form of their choosing. Glaringly absent is a reduction in the fee being paid to Sage for the services they have never provided and will no longer be required to provide, but were a requirement of the RFP and their contract. If tonight's vote on the changes to this contract are approved and accepted without rebidding the contract, this information will be forwarded to the county attorney's office as additional evidence of this board's continued violations of state and local procurement laws and procedures that require competitive bidding. On March 30th, 2020, I sent an email to Sage Management asking for the date this board voted on the moratorium on enforcing overnight parking rules in the district due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Catherine, you were CC'd on that email. It has been 14 days and the contractor has not responded to my question. Again, in violation of their contract that requires a next business day response. Additional evidence of non-performance, which is unacceptable. Thank you, Catherine. That's it for me.
Okay. Sarah, you're next. Did you have a public comment or did you want to talk about specific agenda items?
I'm going to be making a comment on agenda item number 9 and agenda item number 14.
Okay, so you still have a public, just a general public comment?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
Shall I carry on?
Yes, please do.
Regarding agenda item number 9, I carefully read over the email and attachment sent to the District Attorney Bill Flickinger regarding the purported legality of the Architectural Control Committee for Anderson Mill West, which was sent by the president of the Voluntary Neighborhood Association, Beth Jones. It appears that she does not have any legally recorded documents to demonstrate the succession sequence for any time after those that Attorney Atwood had already uncovered, which date back to 1997. Jack Swan indicates in the affidavit he created on March 10 of this year and had notarized by MUD Board Director Luis Zervigon that himself, Maxine Kaplan, and Catherine Frankie apparently believed themselves to have legal authority to make decisions about other neighbors' properties because of this succession sequence linked to Galen Lyon in 1997. No proof that the succession sequence mentioned exists was presented. It seems questionable that this board would make any decisions regarding the ACC without themselves reviewing this mysterious succession sequence, without having the lawyer review the sequence, and most notably, not publishing the succession sequence for neighbors who would be first under the overview of this committee. I hope that prior to any board vote regarding the ACC, that members of this board will ask, inside of this open meeting for all neighbors to hear, to have the district lawyer, Bill Flickinger, speak to whether he has seen and evaluated this purported succession sequence. If he does not speak to reviewing this sequence and confirm its legality, and if the purported succession sequence is not publicly available for residents to see, I think it can be reasonably assumed that either it does not exist, it is not legally valid, or it has holes that would not stand up in the court of law. To my fellow neighbors, listen closely to how the members of this board handle your property rights. Do they stand up for the legality of your deed? Does the liberty to live on your property without illegal oversight matter to you? If it does, then make sure to vote accordingly to your convictions when 2 MUD Board Director seats come up to be refilled at the polls in November. You can find out more about this and other important issues affecting neighborhood rights on Facebook at the Community Forum for WTCMUD1. Agenda item number 14. It looks like the MUD Board of Directors are going to attempt to seize more unauthorized control over neighbors' properties tonight by making changes to the district rules. The recommended changes would allow the Voluntary Neighborhood Association to begin functioning as oversight of the deeds in Anderson Mill West. This is concerning for several reasons. First and foremost, the Voluntary Neighborhood Association is just that, voluntary. It is not mandated or even mentioned in any part of the legal document that we agreed as buyers to oversee our property, the deed. The second concern is that it has a board primarily filled by people who are already MUD Board Directors, which is a power grab and obviously represents a conflict of interest. Furthermore, this voluntary association has a membership of only a minute population of the people who actually live in the neighborhood. Most troublesome, though, is that the board appears to be using the district rules to make additional control over deed restriction issues when the Texas Water Code doesn't list that topic as something that the MUD Board is allowed to make rules regarding. It reads as follows: Texas Water Code section 54.205, adopting rules and regulations. A district may adopt and enforce reasonable rules and regulations to 1, secure and maintain safe, sanitary, and adequate plumbing installations, connections, and appurtenances as subsidiary parts of its sanitary sewer system. 2, preserve the sanitary condition of all water controlled by the district. 3, prevent waste or the unauthorized use of water controlled by the district. 4, regulate privileges on any land or easement owned or controlled by the district. And 5, provide and regulate a safe and adequate freshwater distribution system. If the board is asserting that these are not formal district rules, but instead a detail of how they will exercise their authority under Texas Water Code 54.237, that also does not appear to be legal. 54.237 narrowly allows the board to enforce restrictions that are properly recorded. Since the Voluntary Neighborhood Association is not part of our deed instrument in Anderson Mill West, there is no way to construe it or any recommendations coming from it as properly recorded. In order for the Voluntary Association to carry any authority under 54.237, the deed instrument would need to be legally changed by resident consent, detailed in the original instrument to give any weight to its rulings or recommendations. I certainly can't stop the board from voting to illegally trample neighbors' rights in the middle of a pandemic when they may not be paying attention, but I can reveal the level they are willing to go to in an effort to maintain complete and total control over the properties in our neighborhood. Residents should remember to carefully evaluate what these board members vote to do tonight when they go to the polls in November. Jana Norton and Chris Rocco's seats will both be available to be refilled in that vote. Weigh the choice carefully. Your freedom could depend on it.
Okay, are you finished, Sarah?
I am.
Okay, and Paul, did you want to make a public comment?
I'm here basically to answer any questions you might have concerning the deed restrictions on my property and the recent fines. I think Jimmy.
Okay. Okay, so you're part. Okay, so you're here to appeal your a fine on a specific property.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we jump to that section of the agenda? So I'm going to officially close the public comment section of this meeting. And now what we'll do is we're going to jump to agenda item number 4, pending appeals of fines for violations. Okay, so Paul, let's see, and I think we have something, weren't we given something about this, Diana?
Can't hear her.
Diana?
Catherine,
Yes.
let me, since you can't see the screen, we have,
Yeah.
after public comments, we traditionally will mute the public participants. And then,
Right.
So Paul Bearswell is going to be on agenda 4, number 4
Okay.
that you moved to. I don't know if Julie Potts and Beth Jones have a comment, either a public comment or they want to address a specific agenda item, but we might want to identify that. Julie, could you let us know what you're here to speak on? We can't hear you.
She doesn't have her thing on.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
Okay, I'm learning. Yes, I'm here regarding agenda item number 3.
Okay, well, that's the management report. Did you have a specific comment on it?
Just regarding the property on Mandolin Loop, and I don't recall the exact address, but it is something I believe there was a recommendation coming.
Okay, so that, we'll have to come back to that, Mel. What about Ms. Jones? Did you want to address a specific item or make a public comment?
I actually was just getting on, to talk about that I'd like to renew my request for the ACC to become part of the deed restriction process. I think it's been really helpful.
Okay, that would be item number 9.
Correct.
All right. So Catherine, it sounds like we don't have any more public comments. So
Correct.
What I'm going to do is mute the participants other than the board and Sage, except for Paul Bearswell, so we can address his appeal.
Okay.
I think Catherine wanted to go to the Paul Bearswell issue. Is that correct?
Right, right. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to jump to agenda item number 4, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what the specifics were about Paul. So you're appealing your fine. Diana, can you give us an overview of what's going on?
Diana, you're muted. You have to unmute your microphone.
Jimmy, okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mr. Bearsfield is here to talk about 2434 Madeline, and his fines are in abeyance. In committee meeting, we discussed that he had taken care of all the issues that we had asked him to take care of. Julie Potts, the HOA president, had a request to find out how much we had accrued in legal fees in regards to this property. And I was contacted by Allison's office that it was $750 in legal fees. And we have, and the committee, we had a recommendation that we were going to wait 30 days until the COVID crisis was a little bit farther down the line to make a decision regarding how many fines we were going to waive and what we were planning to do about the legal costs.
Okay. Okay,
Julie-
so Paul, why don't you go ahead and why don't you talk to the board and what would you like us to know about the situation?
Just number one, I'm sorry that there was any issue at all on this. It's been a really rough year for me, but I've really done a lot of work to try and get things resolved there. And it's still got some, I got a lot of work that I still need to or want to do. But as soon as I found out that there was a problem, I jumped on it pretty quickly to try and get it resolved as quick as possible. One thing I don't quite understand is why there was so much difficulty getting in touch with me. Because the, sorry, the Infomark that I get, I understand they're right in the building there at 1000 Old Mill. And they had my box address as my primary contact. It was a little bit old in that all the mail was getting forwarded to me. So as soon as the fines hit the billing, and I was aware of them, I took care of it. But I just don't understand how it could have gotten $750 in legal fees trying to get in touch with me. And anyhow, I just ask that you have a little mercy on my wife and I for this, for those fines and stuff.
Right.
Like I say,
So,
as soon as I knew that there was a problem, I jumped on it and got it fixed as quick as I could.
Catherine, this is Louis. Perhaps it would be
yes.
helpful. Perhaps it would be helpful for Diana to relate some of the difficulties they've had in getting in touch with Mr. Bearswell.
We actually looked up the addresses that were in the account, in the water account, and the mailing address that was there was an old one. We went to the place that was listed, and it was a bar and grill. It was in a shopping center. We made several visits to the property, but because no one was living there, we were not able to get a hold of Mr. Bearsfield. I will say this, though, that once we did get a hold of him, he has been very cooperative, and he has addressed everything that we asked him to address promptly. And we just kind of got caught up in this, in the virus and the COVID and dealing with the fines that he has in advance.
The other thing I'd like to suggest is that Mr. Bearswell is too modest to mention it, but I think his wife has been suffering from cancer. So he is very much distracted with that problem. Is that correct, Mr. Bearswell?
Sorry, we've been in and out of the ward there several times over the last few months.
So there have been some medical issues. The house has been, there was an incident with the house that there was a fire. It hasn't been completely repaired. He's got some other work that he wants done to the inside. The monies that are in abeyance would go a long way to helping him with any future repairs, if the board wants to take that into consideration.
Diana,
Yes, sir.
could you confirm what you reported to the DRC, Catherine and myself, that he has corrected all of the outstanding issues? Is that correct?
Yes, all of the trailer, the scooter, the landscaping issues in the front. He's also recently is trying to apply for xeriscaping ACC so that he can do future work for the house. I'm not sure what his plans are, if they're wanting to move back in or if they're wanting to sell the property, but he is putting work into it, and they are trying to get it ready for whatever the future holds for them with that property.
And the other thing I'd like to know, perhaps Bill can reflect on the legal expenses that we've had and how they arose and why they arose.
Okay. Well, a lot of the expense was getting the demand letters ready and sent to them. We worked on this starting in October of 2019. So we sent a letter then. Then we also had to interface with Sage Management over a substantial period of time, all the way up till present in March. So it's pretty long history with our office, and $750 doesn't go very far on the multiple actions.
And then finally, Julie, could you comment on your own experience with that property?
This property has had issues for quite a long period of time. Understanding now that the family of what they've been experiencing, it sounds very, very difficult. And I do really, my heart goes out to y'all. At the same time, I think at the very least, I know how hard it's been for the HOA, our Hunter's Glen, to try to get some of these issues corrected. We've been trying for a long time. And now that the MUD has been involved, they also were having difficulties, from what I'm hearing and understanding, contacting the owners. All I'm saying is and I don't know if I can talk to Mr. Bearswell directly through this right now, but at the very least, I do think it's very fair and to at least to reimburse the actual out-of-pocket expenses that the MUD has incurred for the legal fees. I don't feel that others in this neighborhood or the other neighborhoods in our community should have to bear that expense. I just don't think that's our responsibility. And I hope you'd be willing to at least do that much and waive the rest, which is quite a large amount, I believe. And that's what I'm asking.
Diana, could you summarize, this is Louis Zervigon, could you summarize again what the recommendation of the Deed Restriction Committee was when we met?
We wanted to go ahead and waive the fees for the trailer and the scooter that were imposed on the account that were being held in abeyance. And we wanted to recommend to work out a payment plan for the legal fees.
Catherine, is that?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
agree?
and that's right. Right. But then I think what we need to do is we need to deal with that in the whole context that right now we've put all fees for all fines for the entire district on the back burner. So
Yes.
I think Louis, what I think where we're sort of going is we're going to make a recommendation to waive a large percentage of the fees that have been assessed, and then we're going to wait until whenever we start, we get out of our pandemic emergency, and then we will come back and work out a payment plan for this resident.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. We had said the recommendation was to wait on the payment plan until after the pandemic crisis.
I second the motion.
I have one comment, Catherine.
Sure.
Regarding the fines. Apparently my neighbor came over saying that we were still fining people, and it was on social media.
That we're still what people? I missed that.
We were still fining people right now, like new fines, like for trash cans. And so I just want you to be specific that right now during this pandemic, new fines, or correct me if I'm wrong, new violations are not being fined. Is that correct?
Yes, that is what we agreed to do in the March board meeting. The process, the deed restriction enforcement process, is still continuing forward, meaning that we still have inspections twice a month. People are still getting friendly letters. People are being red tagged for not paying their bills, but nobody's water is going to be turned off, and nobody's going to be having any fines assessed in this emergency pandemic period that we're in. So basically what's going on is we're continuing as we always have, but I expect it's not going to be until July or August, to be quite honest, that we are going to come out of this declared final emergency, where as a community, the utilities have said we're going to stop the moratorium on shutoffs, and the mortgage companies and the evictions for not paying your rent. That, I suspect, is not going to happen until July or August. So it's going to be literally at the end of the current fiscal year before people, if they have any long-term problems that they were not able to resolve within the first friendly letter and then the multiple letters that you get for repeat deed restriction violations, it's not going to be until literally the fourth quarter of 2020 before we start getting to that point where we're going to start issuing fines.
Okay,
so to
great.
answer your last question, yeah, and that was a long-about way to say who's ever saying that on social media is misinformed, and let's hope that we can correct that misinformation that is being passed around.
And
Okay,
Catherine,
so
let me clarify here that all the fines from Mr. Bearswheel are past. They were pre-coronavirus. They've been sitting in abeyance. This has nothing to do with new fines. This is stuff that's been sitting in the account from back in December.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure that Catherine answered my question right then, because she said it in the beginning. So sorry if I interrupted during the agenda.
That's fine. Okay, but Louis, you seconded my motion, but I hadn't made my motion yet. So let me try it again. So what I recommend is that we waive all fees for this homeowner except for $750, and that we then follow whatever our current process is for fines, which is to put them on the back burner until we come out of our current emergency pandemic declaration. And then at that time, what we will do is offer and come up with a payment plan that is somewhere between 6 months and a year for this resident to pay his fine.
Okay, I second the motion, but let's change back burner to say put it on hold.
Yeah, put it on hold. Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Mr. Bearswheel, are you okay with that? Is he still on?
His phone is muted.
Okay.
I would say 6 months to a year or even more, depending on the situation.
Yeah, like I said, I am totally fine with making, a long extended period. We've had situations in the past that have gone on for payment plans that have gone on for more than a year, and I am perfectly willing to make that part of the process.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's have discussion now. I think Julie was about to.
Very important that I intended to say, and I do very much appreciate the work that Mr. Bearswell has done to date in order to get the property looking so much better. And we really do appreciate it. It's been in disrepair for quite a long time. And so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
No problem, and I'm really sorry that it took so long to get it straightened up. We've been working on the interior and just ignored the exterior for that time.
Well, as long as it can stay looking up, that's all we're asking for is, so it looks good for the neighborhood. And thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Art or Chris, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I'm good with that.
I'm fine also.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call a vote blind. Why don't I do this? Louis?
I vote A, yes.
Jana?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Okay. So I think that is it then. And I don't think we have anybody else on the line who wanted to make an appeal.
I want to say thank you to Mr. Bearswell for taking the time to talk to us.
Yes.
And I wanted to thank you for helping me out with this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it is always appreciated when residents who are having issues come and talk to us. It makes it so much easier for us to resolve the problem.
Let me add that, Mr. Bearswell, we're not interested in collecting money. We're interested in correcting problems. So we're very, very flexible about waiving fines and when people can correct the problems and show us that they have.
Yeah, we're really glad you called in today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm going to kick off now, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So I am going to then move back to into agenda item 2. But before I get to agenda item 2, Louis, you wanted to make a comment before I move to agenda 2.
Of course. What I'd like to be able to say to the residents of the MUD, we're going through a difficult period, and I want to make sure that our residents understand that the people that work for Inframark and the people that work for Waste Management and the people that work for our maintenance of the public areas, those people are in harm's way. They're in harm's way every day. And the number of cases in Cedar Park is substantial. And you can look at the statistics. We owe those people our gratitude for what they're doing. And I'd also like to add that we have people in our community who have lost their jobs, who are having a hard time keeping food on the table. And I want all of you to think about what you can do to help your neighbors. I, for example, am an older person, and I have been just wonderfully impressed with how neighbors all across this neighborhood have reached out to me to help. And I want each of you who are residents to look at your neighborhood, look at your neighbors. Are there people that need help? Can you help them? And if you see help that needs to be done, send a message to our MUD website and maybe we can organize something. but we need to work together and be together through this terrible, terrible experience we're going through. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis.
Thank you, Louis. Okay, agenda item 2, online postings, inaccurate or misleading names, site names, district information. I have a comment that I would like to make under this agenda item. Repeating a lie doesn't make it true. For meeting after meeting, I've politely listened while the community forum for the WTCMUD1, also known as Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal, used the public comment portion of the WTCMUD1 meetings to spread lies, attack the board, its vendors, and volunteers in our community. I've remained quiet as the WTCMUD1 board has been accused of being a criminal organization and engaging in unethical or immoral acts. The truth is, however, this board has continued to act in what it believes is the long-term best interest of our community. The fact that Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal disagree with the decisions we've made on planning for the long-term maintenance of our infrastructure for water and wastewater, the support maintenance of our parks and trails, consistent enforcement of deed restrictions to maintain property values while supporting community involvement and lowering taxes doesn't make the repeated lies true. For over a year, Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal have used open record requests as a form of attack on the taxpayers of the WTCMUD1, forcing the expenditure of over $100,000 in direct costs, attack the AMWNA and the many volunteers in our community who plan the Easter egg hunt, the 4th of July parade, and the light up the park events. They have held themselves out as the community crusaders against the WTCMUD1 who are stealing your property rights. In January, the community forum announced they were hosting a meeting in February to discuss deed restriction enforcement and property rights. This was an invitation-only event, and it was apparent the WTCMUD1 board members, who are property owners in the district, were not welcome. The Anderson-Mill West Neighborhood Association president did request permission to attend this meeting, and one can only interpret the lack of response to her request to attend meant she too wasn't welcome to this community event. In the end, I think this event was quietly canceled after a lack of community interest. There has been no word on this event, and it did not, and if it did not occur. I think Linda Fobb or Sarah Teal would have mentioned it in their public comment. At the last meeting, I feel Sarah Teal crossed the line with her lies and attacks on our community such that I must speak truth to these lies. In her comment, Sarah Teal specifically commented that being a dues-paying member of the Anderson-Mill West Neighborhood Association curtailed your property rights in the WTCMUD1 district because interpretations from the Anderson-Mill West Neighborhood Association, ACC, only applied to dues-paying members of the Anderson-Mill West Neighborhood Association. Sarah Teal knows that this is a pants-on-fire lie. The deed restrictions all property owners must follow in the WTCMUD1 exist as part of your deed regardless of whether you pay your mandatory HOA dues or support the community events the Anderson-Mill West Neighborhood Association plans by paying $5 a year. When Bill Milburn planned the Anderson-Mill West community, he decided not to create a mandatory HOA like the developers did when Valente Hills, Lakeline Oaks, and Hunters Glen were created. But he did create an ACC whose sole purposes are to aid in the interpretations of the deed restrictions and improvements. The approval of improvements is critically important since Cedar Park is no longer issuing building permits in the WTCMUD1. As we discussed at the last meeting, Bill Milburn specifically passed his ACC to the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association to be a community group to support the community in its effort to maintain property values. Sarah Teal knows the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association doesn't enforce deed restrictions, but nevertheless, she spoke the lie that being a member of the Andersonville West Neighborhood Association specifically curtails your property rights. This is just the most current example of Sarah Teal or Linda Fobb using the public comment portion of the WTCMUD1 meeting to spread lies about our community. I think the property rights educational event that Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal planned last February was actually meant to launch Sarah Teal's campaign to run for the WTCMUD1 board. Remember, Sarah, the community remembers, the community knows. Repeating a lie doesn't make it true. I would also like to respond to Linda Fobb's comment at the last board meeting about her open records request about they. At the last board meeting, Linda Fobb referred to the lack of records in her open records request about they. It may not have been exactly clear what Linda Fobb was referring to, so at a high level, here's a recap. At a previous WTCMUD1 board meeting, Louis Zervagon commented that he'd been approached by residents who were alarmed about Linda Fobb's contacting them regarding deed restriction violations that they may have been accused of. Louis always encourages those residents not to put their complaints in writing because Linda Fobb will make an open records request, which will probably result in more harassment from Linda Fobb. As a result, there are no records in response to Linda Fobb's open records request. What Linda Fobb is not understanding is all board members are in contact with residents of the WTCMUD1. We talk with them in the park while we're walking our dog, getting our mail, planning community events. We have dinner with them at restaurants and in our homes. Linda, you have made an impact on your community. But what you fail to realize, it is not a positive impact. You are seen as toxic. Linda, let me share some of the interactions I've had with your neighbors, the residents of the WTCMUD1, that reflect your impact on the community. I had dinner with a neighbor who mentioned that crazy lady had left a note on their door about a class action lawsuit against the WTCMUD1. I responded, oh, do you still have it? The community forum purposely doesn't leave their literature at my door, so I only see it when neighbors share it. Sadly, she responded she had already thrown it out. My neighbor's partner then commented, I see her walking down Old Mill all the time, so glad she doesn't walk down our street. I ran into a resident in the park who recognized me as a WTCMUD1 board member, and she commented, what those women on social media are saying about the MUD board is just despicable. At community events, I always share where I live, where in the district I live. This usually results in my neighbors sharing where they live too. I responded once, oh, I know where that is. You live near Linda Fobb. The look of horror on their face was noticeable. I responded, okay, you know Linda too. I admit this was passed on to me. I didn't hear it myself, but I believe it's an accurate sentiment. I'm willing to block walk against any candidate endorsed by the community forum. On more than one occasion, I've been present when this sentiment was expressed. If those crazy women use their efforts to support and raise up their community instead of tearing it down, imagine what wonderful things they could accomplish. Imagine indeed, Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal, imagine what you could accomplish if you spent your time working for the good in your community instead of attacking it. I don't have any more on this agenda item. Was there somebody else another board member who wanted to make a comment? Hello?
You said it all, Catherine.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to agenda item number 3. I'm going to turn it over to Diana with your management report.
Thank you. Are y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with our agenda. I provided you all with a hard copy of that. On the spot, we had a trailer on Spider Lily. We have contacted the tenant and the owner. They are working together. There are some major medical issues. There was also a house fire. The tenant's home is going to be ready soon, and they need to move because one of the family members, the house that they're in Spider Lily does not accommodate their medical needs right now. They are in the process of moving. They are asking for 30 more days to keep the trailer in the driveway. Due to the virus, they are having a hard time getting movers and moving because they're restricted. They cannot move their one family member that is under quarantine anyway because he's medically fragile, and they need more time. So if the board would like to make a motion and give them 30 more days to move, they will hopefully have the trailer out of there by May the 1st.
I so move.
Okay. Okay, I'll second that. So hold on. So so what we're talking about is the trailer on Spider Lily, and if I remember correctly, there was an RV, but that's gone now.
The RV is gone. I did have a complaint called in that it had come back, but it was false. We went to check it out, and that RV had been sold, and it is not back. They have the open trailer that they are using to move, and it's just the wife, and she's also has her college daughter had to come home. It's just the two of them, and they have not been able to pack up that much and care for the family member at the same time.
Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is they've asked for another 30 days, and then the trailer's going to be gone, and actually they're going to be out of the neighborhood. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
They're moving out of the neighborhood.
Okay, so I will second that. Is there any more discussion?
Nope.
Okay, I will then call for the vote, and I will do it manually again. Louis?
I vote yes.
Art?
I vote yes.
Jana?
I vote yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Continue, Diana.
Yes, Catherine, let me give you a little side note on that. They never made it to fine stage. They got the owner and the tenant reached out to us as soon as they started getting harassment complaints put against them. And we have been working with them one-on-one with both the owner and the tenant. So I just wanted to make sure that was on the record, that they have done everything that they can to make it work.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, the next thing we had boats. We're down to just 2 boats. One on Birch, one on Blazing Star. They're both at pre-fine stage. I sent them a notification in March before we had our March 25th meeting where we were going to put a hold on fines. So I just want to make sure you guys know, yes, there were some fines sent out, but it was before that the 25th vote on holding off.
Hey, one question real quick.
Yes.
Jana, the one on Birch, the boat on Birch, is that in section 1 or 2? Because I know there's
It is in section 2.
Section 2.
There is a boat that is in section 1 that belongs to a property on Texas O, but it is in section 1, and it's parked in a manner that it's not illegal to do in his area.
Okay, I was just making sure that there was. I was just making sure that it was the same boat that I was thinking of.
Is it the little bass buggy?
Yeah.
It's on the ground?
That's the one.
That's the one? Okay. All righty, that's all I had on boats. I'm going to move on to unregistered vehicles. We've had a property on Mobile Pass that has had 2 unregistered vehicles. It's been ongoing for, gosh, several months. They are in fine stage. We have not gotten any response to any of their letters, and I have to check with Infomark to see if they've paid on those fines, but they just got notified of it at the beginning of the month because their letters were sent out early in March.
Okay, so somebody from Infomark on the line, because I know since we put the fines basically on hold right now, I don't even know if the fines reason applied.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I was going to check and see. I think they post them to the account, but they don't necessarily get sent out on the water bill. I'm not sure how that's working right now. Lisa has been out, and I have not had time to check with Lee on that.
Okay.
The trailers on Mesquite and Terra Blanco, we have had reports that it is a home business. The open storage is getting worse instead of better. It was referred to legal on the 25th, and I am not sure the status on that. I will let Bill answer any questions on that or update us on that.
Yeah, I would like an update on that one.
Okay. Do you want to do it now or show at the end of the summary?
No,
Okay.
just right now. Yeah, Bill, why don't you just give us an update right now on the property at the corner of Mesquite and Terra Blanco?
Yeah, that's we sent a demand letter with a deadline of yesterday. This is the one that has the AstroTurf too.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
We have not gotten a response, so I guess if it hasn't been corrected, we could consider further action on Wednesday if we wanted to. But the deadline just expired yesterday on our letter.
Okay. We'll take it up then at the next board meeting.
Okay. Update on trash cans in view. The numbers are small still. An update on overnight parking, maybe 10 at the last count. And the only one that was in fines is someone that has been chronic for 2 years. And so we did not send anything new on fines.
I have a question, Diana.
Yes.
Given that we're in this hunker down stage of the coronavirus, we've probably got kids coming home from school. And
yes, sir.
Tell me the reaction that you would have. You're in the field. You're looking at the overnight parking situation. Would we consider a period during which we would do until this coronavirus is over, or do you see a need for that?
We have had actually the people that have college kids, they're the same ones that we've had issues in the past, and we had already established a line of communication with those residents. So they contacted us before our March 25th meeting, asking us what was going to happen if they had extra parking, and they were willing to work with us and let us know, when the kids were going to be there, when they weren't. So we really haven't had but two residents that have had issues with extra cars because of their college kids coming home.
Because of our past history and me recognizing where they're at, I know who we're dealing with, high school and college kids. Most of the new people that we're seeing are people that are new to the neighborhood. So it's all part of since we're still in the friendly letter stage, it's all part of the education process. And almost all of them are very new people. So I've had a couple of tours. They got corrected after one friendly letter. And that's encouraging because it means the message is getting out.
So can we conclude that it would be premature to consider a moratorium on overnight parking?
I don't think it's necessary. I think the work that Jimmy has put in by getting out and meeting residents and establishing a relationship has been beneficial to us during this period, because people are actually reaching out to us and saying, hey, you know, we've got this going on, and the numbers haven't changed much. The only overnight parking issues that we've had are new residents to the MUD, and they just didn't know. And as soon as we send them a friendly, they've corrected.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we say that going forward, we want to keep an eye on this, and we want to see whether it becomes an issue that we need to deal with. We would rely on you and Jimmy to let us know if you think that we need to take some action.
Okay. One of the things that we did have some people call and let us know that they wanted it, since we're talking about this, because the streets are narrow and they were worried about an emergency vehicle needing to get to a home in case of an emergency, they were happy that we were still driving around enforcing the overnight parking.
That's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm concerned, because we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where emergency vehicles cannot get into a neighborhood because we have a moratorium on overnight parking in the street.
Yes, sir.
Catherine?
Yes.
Let's put that on our agenda for our security meeting, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Then the only thing on our summary that we needed to discuss was a fencing issue. We have an active HOA and an ACC in Volente Hills, and we were unaware that ACC paperwork had been filed back in February. The resident is asking for his fines to be removed by the board since he did submit ACC paperwork.
Okay, so so we have a situation where this is a fence issue, correct?
The Volente Hills board had asked us to enforce a fence violation on a resident, and during that period when the enforcement started, the resident had filed ACC paperwork, and we were not made aware of any of the paperwork until this past week.
Do we have confirmation? I think Sabrina's still on the line. Do we have confirmation?
I am.
The resident submitted his confirmation and all his paperwork, and I sent it to legal because we had already referred it to legal because we had not been notified by the HOA that there was an ACC pending.
Sabrina, can you weigh in on this?
Yes. My understanding on this is that he had submitted an application, but that application, if I'm not mistaken, has been denied. But hold on just a second, because I'm pulling it up as we speak. So bear with me just a second.
Sabrina,
I'm pretty sure. Go ahead.
While you pull it up, I want you to know that we've all been concerned about the illness in your family, and I hope everybody's doing well.
Well, unfortunately, my brother-in-law did pass away last Sunday. We had we did have a funeral this past Friday.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so let's just recap while she's pulling that document. We've got, he recognizes that there's fence repair that needs to be done. He put in an ACC request in terms of regarding the type of fence repair he was going to do. It sounds like the Volente Hills HOA board rejected his proposed solution. Is that a good way of putting it? So nothing's been
as
done.
far as I know, Mr. Klug said that he was, and his paperwork that he submitted to me that I forwarded to legal, he got a confirmation letter accepting his ACC app on the 1st of February, and he had 30 days to wait. He said he had not heard back from anyone.
They declined his application on April the 10th.
That's
So
past
what
the 30,
he has to,
well, that's past the 30 days though. So how does that work? Because he was under the impression that if he didn't hear back within 30 days, he could move forward with his project. And he was planning to move forward with the project, but it got delayed because of the COVID, and the contractors that he has contracted cannot come out until this is over.
well, let me look. I don't know.
Bill, how does that work legally? Because that's
Well,
a
it just
question he
depends
asked
on
me.
what their restrictions state.
The ACC.
Yeah. I don't know. He asked me.
I was trying to give Sabrina a chance to double check her records.
That's what I'm looking at, Bill. I'm looking to see what their restrictions state about the approval process.
Sabrina, do your records show when you got a sufficient ACC request when you received it?
It looks like it came in on February the 5th. And I was looking to see.
And do we go ahead and take off the fine?
I was looking to see what their time frame was for their approval, to see how it.
Sabrina, I've read the restrictions, and from the time you get a complete request, when all the information is submitted, you have 30 days to act. The ACC has 30 days to act, and if you don't take any action, it's presumed approved. So the question is, when did you receive a complete application, and when did you deny it?
Well, like I said, it was received on February the 5th, and it looks like the committee person denied it on April the 10th.
And Sabrina,
I'm just going to say that sounds like it's past the 30 days. Okay, so we got a couple of spin-in plates here from what I'm hearing. We've got a resident who made an application, and even if it was approved, he wouldn't be able to get it. He wouldn't be able to finish his project because he can't get a contractor in because of the COVID-19 pandemic emergency declaration. So what it sounds like we're hearing is we're going to have to wait until the contractors are coming out again in order to get the fence issue resolved. The issue is, what are we going to do about the fine that has been assessed? We are not in the position right now where we're even really worrying about it. Do we have a Valente Hills board member on the line right now?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, I guess Sabrina, it sounds like what you need to do is you need to go back and confer with your board as to what the status of this project is, and negotiate with him to get something defined that will meet your needs. It's not going to happen for probably, not even going to have a contractor available another 60 to 90 days. At this point, I'm really not worrying about the fines that have been assessed. I'd say right now, why don't we go ahead, the fines that have been assessed, let's just go ahead and put them into abeyance until after the pandemic and the HOA and the residents have come up with a solution forward to get this fence fixed.
Is that a motion, Catherine?
Yeah, I'm gonna make that a motion. What the heck?
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so does anybody have any, well, let me ask you, Sabrina, do you think that that's going to be a path forward that'll work for the board and this resident?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm just going to, I'll have to talk to the board with regards to their ACC person failing to act upon this. So,
Okay.
We'll see what they say.
Oh, and just because I'm curious, do you have any notes that says why his ACC application was denied? It was my understanding he was just putting in a more elaborate gate that was not your standard cedar.
Well, actually what he's doing is he's putting in an entire wrought iron fence around his property, and I'm looking right now to see if he gave a comment on why he denied it. I would venture to guess it's because there's probably not any other home out there.
Okay.
So he came back on the 10th and said that he said, I misinterpreted the plan he included. Indeed, the plan does not show the fence at all. Thus, no plan for the project has been submitted. This is denied for that reason. All previous fence submittals have included a statement regarding the neighbor's approval for wooden fences. One neighbor must agree to have the slats facing away. In this case, both neighbors must agree to the loss of privacy that would accompany this style of fence unless he intends to leave the existing side panels in place.
Serena, it sounds to me like you don't have a complete submission. So the 30 days don't count until you have a complete submission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't include, in looking at this, he didn't include his lot survey.
Okay. So you didn't get it, so you
sent me a lot survey. Sabrina, the paperwork that he sent to me did include a lot survey. Do you need me to send that?
I'm going to go back over here and look and just make sure, because what I was looking at did not. It just had a picture of his application and a picture of the fence.
Yeah, he sent me at least 6 or 7 different pieces of paper that he had submitted with his application.
Well, what he submitted and what we have is what he sent. So what he submitted to you was not what he submitted to us.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I take it back. He does show a lot survey, but he doesn't show where his fence is going to be located. He doesn't indicate on the lot survey, so I think that's what they're referring to.
Okay.
So there is a lot survey on here.
So from your point, so from the HOA's point of view, it was still incomplete because you didn't know where the fence was going.
Right.
Okay.
And I was looking on his application, and he doesn't state that he's going back in the same location. He just says replace existing wood fence with higher quality metal fencing, black painted iron or high strength aluminum. And he says he's only going to have it at 5 feet, which most of them are, all the fences out there, the wooden fences are all 6 feet. So.
Now, was he, it's not important, that's my question. Okay, so where we're standing now is we're going to put his fines in abeyance and throw this back over to the HOA and the ACC to come up with a solution that everybody is happy with, and we'll deal with it once he gets his fence in, which is going to be sometime in the second quarter, if we're lucky. No, third quarter. Sorry about that. Third quarter. Okay, so Louis, you seconded my motion. Do we have any more comments before I call the vote? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so Jana,
Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. I did
okay.
not have comments, so yes.
Art,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Louis,
Yes.
and Catherine votes yes too. Okay. Okay, is there anything else, Diana?
Not on our summary. We have some other fines and pending fines in advance to discuss, and then
Okay.
one appeal. But on the
Okay.
summary, that's pretty much all we had.
Okay.
Okay. On our fines, we had the Madeline property that we already discussed. We jumped to it at the beginning with Mr. Beresfield. And we've had a motion and a second on that recommendation.
Yeah, I thought we passed that one.
We did. That was at the top of my list, and I'm just recapping. Then we
Okay.
had, on London Lane, we had, the car was parked overnight in the street in February. We had notified legal. We provided a copy of the latest fine letter to Allison Nix's office, and we have had another violation in April. In April. So that has already been referred to Bill's office, and he's working on that.
Okay.
All right. The next one is on Old Mill. Back in December, we had an appeal on a trailer. The fines were waived. The trailer came back. It was parked in front of the house. I was notified that it was going to be there, but it was there longer than the time period we were alerted that it was going to be there for, and we got a picture of it on tour. So there was a fine letter sent. We also had an unregistered vehicle in the driveway that the board voted to put the $100 fine in abeyance, and they had till March 1st to remove the vehicle. The vehicle was removed on March 28th.
Okay.
After our meeting. So we had, I don't know what you guys want to do about the fine in abeyance. The vehicle is now gone. It wasn't gone by the deadline date, but it is gone.
Well, I move that we we waive that fee that fine that was in abeyance for that car.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. I am just so happy that they were able to get rid of that problem child
Me
car. and
too.
make it go away.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Need a second? I'll second that.
And
Okay.
they've done
Everyone
a lot
wants to
of
second that
work
one.
on the property. They have been really cleaning. They power washed the driveway. They've been cleaning up a lot. So it's looking good.
Okay.
It's positive.
Okay, so we've got, okay, hold on, let's vote on that. So I'll just call the vote. Jana?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Louis?
Yes.
Catherine votes yes. Okay, so we're waiving that $100 fine for the car.
Okay. We had an appeal for the trailer submitted, and you should have a copy of that appeal. It was a $200 fine, and the resident is asking for us to waive that fine, and that trailer is now gone.
Okay, has this particular resident ever had a fine waived for this type of violation?
Yes, she did. She had two fines waived in December.
It's
It's all part of it's the same property.
Right, I understand it's the same property. But we've already had fines waived for trailers at this property.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to make a motion to waive that. But
Can you
we're
ask a
not.
question?
Sure. Sure.
Diana, what are the chances, do you think, your opinion, of this repeating in the future? I mean, is this a trailer they use regularly?
She had promised us it would be gone in December and it wasn't coming back, and then did notify us that it was going to come back, but it hadn't been there in between December and now. I don't know if they're planning to use it for work. In this case, it was used to move her mother. At least that's what was communicated to me. So I don't know.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do they have a permanent storage spot for it? Have you checked that?
At the December meeting, she addressed the board and said that they had moved it somewhere else and they have it stored. So they had storage for it then.
Well, you would think they'd have storage for it now.
The reason given at the meeting was she couldn't afford to pay the fines on it, so that's why they had moved it. I don't know. I don't
Say
know
that
that
again.
I'm sorry?
Okay, I missed her reasoning there. She didn't move it because what?
At the December meeting, she said she couldn't afford to be paying the fines, so she had moved it.
Oh, okay.
And they had it in storage then. But I did not get into the reasoning as to why it was here and if it's going to come back. We just dealt with what was going on, at the time. We were dealing with the unregistered vehicle being there past the deadline, and it just so happened that the trailer showed up at that time.
Let me suggest,
Okay.
suggest
Yeah,
something.
go ahead, Louis.
One of the things we've done in the past in these kinds of situations, generally, if there's already been a waiver, we don't give a new waiver. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, there have been times when we've given a partial waiver when we want to motivate these people to not repeat. So, Diana, do you have any kind of impression as to whether we really solved this problem, or is it going to come back? And I know you can't predict that, but given what has happened in the past, it seems to me this may just come back again.
Yeah, Louis, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Well, I did let them know that if, when the last ones were waived, and if it comes back, they go back right on the protocol where they were on the last one. We do know that there was financial issues at the time because they let us know that in December. I don't know if they can pay it. And at this, I don't know. I'm really at a loss here because it hadn't been back for 3 months. They were willing to work with us. And they did abide by and move that unregistered vehicle that has been there for so long.
Diana, my concern is that
So it's a mystery.
we're not interested in making money. We're interested in solving problems.
Yes.
And the money comes into play if it is a mechanism for solving the problem. And that's what I'm having a hard time figuring out.
Louis, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Part of this, I don't know if you remember these owners, but they did come to the board previously. There was a lengthy discussion with them.
I remember very well. They were very assertive and aggressive.
Correct.
He was, not her. She was very polite. He was.
Part of the what we tell people on trailers is basically if you're going to have it there to load it up or use it, and you give us some notice so it's not being stored there, we tend to cooperate with the people. And that was discussed when they came to the board. And the email that they sent as part of their appeal said, I don't know if it's true, but it says they notified Sage when the trailer was there, like the day they brought it, because they were moving the mother. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like they were trying, at least they're trying to attempt to not have it there all the time.
They did make the effort and they did notify us. It just so happened that she said it would be gone on a certain date, and it was still there 4 or 5 days afterwards when we were there on tour. So we took a picture of it. It was there. It wasn't there for 2 or 3 days. It was there for 12 days. So I guess how long do you want us to give them? If they are going to let us know, would be an issue.
Is the trailer still there?
I'm sorry?
Is the trailer still there?
No, it's gone now.
It has been.
Well,
And
if it's
Diane,
gone
they
now.
didn't call you?
Hello?
Diana, they didn't call you?
They sent me an email that it would be there, that it was only supposed to be there for 3 or 4 days, and it was there
But then
for
there-
about 12 days.
But then there was no more communication after that.
Just emails.
After that, I mean, after the deadline, did they still contacted you?
They contacted me to tell me that the car was gone.
But they didn't say anything about the trailer being there.
No. After the fine letter went out, then I did get, an appeal email.
Okay, so this is that.
Louis, what's your opinion about, like, I think it's a $200 fine, right? Diana?
Yes.
Louis, what would be your opinion about waiving $100 and then we're just gonna, because knowing that the other $100 fine is gonna remain, but it's not gonna show up until the end of our pandemic?
I was going to suggest that, but I was going to suggest that we make it $50. All I'm interested in doing is getting their attention. And given the environment we're living in, $50 ought to do that.
Okay, so we're gonna waive you're talking about waiving 150 of the 200?
Yeah, but with the understanding that if the problem occurs, that 150 we're waiving goes right back on.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we waive $150 of the $200 fine. And that $50 fine is just going to sit and wait until after the pandemic emergency is over before it finally hits the bill again. Am I saying that correctly?
Can we give an approximate date, like July 1 or August 1?
No, we don't. Listen, we don't. I have no idea when the emergency is going to be declared over.
Okay.
But like I said, I honestly believe it's going to be third quarter, which means after sometime July or later. That's my personal belief. Whether or not I win the lottery and I hit the nail on the head, I don't know.
Oh boy, good luck.
Yeah. All I know is I've been told to work from home through May 1st.
I'm hoping for June, but I hear you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah. I have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I want to discuss it. I want to defer the whole thing until and then if they do it again, it comes back. I don't even want to fine them the $50. We can get their attention that way. And if they don't comply, the whole thing, it's due. I mean, they probably can't even afford the $50. So let's just do I want to defer the whole thing.
So you would prefer to just say we're going to put the whole thing in abeyance until after the emergency pandemic?
Yes. If they continue to comply, that was the last time, then there's no fine.
I can go along with that. This is Louis. I can go along with that. I think it's important to let them know about this discussion and about how we're concerned about them, but we're also concerned about them holding the line and following the requirements.
Yes, exactly.
I think Diana and Jim can do that.
That's a good point. Let's waive the whole fine, but defer it and say if they do this again, it's retroactive, goes back.
Yeah, that's what I think. And if it was a one time and it doesn't happen again, then they've complied. We've got what we've wanted, and they don't get a fine, not even $50.
Okay, well, what I think we need to do though is that we need to put it. We need to put a date on it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think
So you want to? Yeah. So July 31st.
I'd go with mid-June.
July 1st.
That's
Well,
a
let's make
good-
sure we all understand what the date is. I'm talking about we're going to put this in abeyance until the end of July, with the assumption that if they haven't had another violation, that we're then just going to complete the waiving.
Exactly.
That's why I was saying.
That's right, and that's right. They'll still have to pay it if they don't complete the adjudication, but they won't have to
Right.
pay it until July 1st or July whatever.
Okay.
I'm
I
good.
was saying, I guess what I was thinking is that we were going to say if you don't violate between now and the end of July, then we're automatically going to make it go away. I was going to put a period in there where we were expecting them to behave and be in compliance. That's what I was trying to say. But you don't want to. Oh,
I think we expect them to comply just regardless, starting tomorrow.
okay. Okay. So we don't. Okay. So you're not saying that we're putting any observation period in there. We're just going to say you need to comply. If it shows up again, then we're putting it back.
Look, they haven't called us or communicated us to tell us why it was there the last time. That's all we're asking. There's no communication.
Well, no, they did communicate. They sent an email saying it was going to be there to move the mother.
And
They
when
just
it
went
wasn't,
But they went past the time frame that they said it was going to be there.
right, and didn't tell you why.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That part, there was no communication as to why.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So the motion now is to waive the fine with the understanding that if there's another violation, it is coming back, no appeals. Is that where we're standing?
That's what I'm.
Yes, but we're not going to make them pay, we're not going to make them pay until a later date.
Okay.
Maybe even a pay, give them a payout agreement.
But
Oh,
Chris,
definitely.
yeah, but Chris, the important point that Catherine just made was that if there's a further violation, it all comes back. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, but I would like to find out what's the problem. Do they not have a storage facility anymore? Because if they don't have a storage facility anymore, then they're not going to be able to comply. If they do, why isn't it there?
Well, it's there now. I mean, I'm assuming it's there now because it's not in front of the house anymore.
Well, then it doesn't need to be in front of the house again unless they're actually in the active moving something. And then they need to communicate with us.
Okay. Okay.
Chris, we're not saying here that if they come back and say, well, I don't have a place to store it, so I've got to keep it in front of the house for 1, 2, 3, 5 days. We're not saying we're willing to accept that. Is correct?
Right. I understand. That's right. But if they say it took me an extra couple of days to get her moved and we didn't want to drive it to Wimberley to store it and bring it right back again, all I'm saying is they need to communicate when they're going to do that.
I don't know how to enforce communication.
No, you don't have to enforce communication, Diana. That's just one of the things that we'll discuss if the next time we have an issue with this resident for this specific violation. Okay. So it sounds
Catherine, go restate what we're going to do then.
Yes, please.
So I can get it clear.
Exactly.
I'm going to contact her and I need a clear.
as
Yep.
as I appreciate it, we're going to tell these people that if they, that we're waiving everything, but if they come back with the violation, then everything goes back on. Is
Okay,
that
great.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping
Yeah.
you'd say.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so
that's-
that was, so Louis, you made the motion. I'll go ahead and second that version. And do we have any more discussion?
Think that-
I'm going to take that as a no. So I'm going to call the vote. Janice?
Yes.
Art?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Louis?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. What's next?
We had an item that we were going to talk about under our activity report, and that was all I have. Do you all want to talk about it now, or
Sure. Let's go
under
ahead. Talk about.
Okay. All right. So one of the complaints that we got recently via email was, it's an old complaint about a classic truck on Astor Pass. And I just wanted to let the board know, I submitted the picture. It is not a rusty truck. It is a truck full of primer. One of the allegations made was that there was no license plate for this truck. And Jimmy made an appointment, went over there, spoke to the owner, laid eyeballs on the license plate. It is a classic truck. It does have a plate. It is in the state of repair. There's changes happening to it on a regular basis. And I just wanted to go ahead and address that because it keeps coming in, and the resident, the owner of the truck, feels like he is being harassed and targeted with the constant reports.
Diana, this is another one of the complaints that have been filed by a resident, not by, as a result of your work.
Yes.
And this is the same resident who is sending spreadsheets of complaints.
Yes.
It's a really nice truck. It's a real cool classic truck with primer on it.
And that person is Linda Fobb, and she's walking the neighborhood making lists of complaints. And then she's going to people and offering to help them to fight the violations. It's crazy.
Well, but just so I'm clear, Diana, this classic truck, it's properly licensed and it's got a plate and life is good with it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, but I do need to tell y'all, while they're painting it, and it's in the process of getting a nice new paint job, it's been primed. While they're painting it, they're taking off the plate, and then they're going to put it back on after it's painted. But there is plate, and it's in.
Is it operable? Is it operable, the truck?
Jimmy?
I'm sorry?
Is it operable?
Yes, and it's a project, Art. It is just the color of the primer. It does look like rust from a distance, but it is an operable vehicle. It does move around. It's just a project. Really nice man. Because of him being home with the pandemic, I was able to visit with him from vehicle length, and he let me take the picture from up close. And I can tell you that over the past year plus, I've seen the vehicle multiple times. And part of the reason it's never been on the report is I can see that there's progress throughout the last year. He's made progress on it. So I knew that he was working on it. I knew it wasn't sitting there degrading right there in the driveway. There's a difference
But it's also
between.
not up on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, but this is also not a vehicle that's up on blocks being worked on in the driveway.
No.
Yeah.
No.
There's
So
quite
he
a
does
difference
drive it back and
between.
forth every once in a while, correct?
Yeah, there's quite a difference between a vehicle that's being worked on, and you can tell someone's taking pride in workmanship, as opposed to a vehicle that someone's using for storage and it's got 2 inches of mold on top of it. And this is not that case.
Okay. So I wanted to bring your attention to that one. The only other thing regarding the spreadsheet, there were two addresses that were falsely reported. The addresses were, the numbers on the house, on the street were entered wrong. So those were two false reports, and I went ahead and I included that in your packet with my notes. I think that's two others were no violations. So that really just left us to the thing I want to talk to y'all about next, which is signage. There are a few sections that have signage rules. It's been a longstanding rule that we are not to enforce the security signs, like the ADA alarm systems or ADT alarm systems. So we have not been sending friendlies on those. We've followed up on the ones that were on the report. We know which ones they were because we've seen them. Most of them are school accomplishment, support the military, and Blue Lives Matter, protecting our police, supporting law enforcement. And the Valente Hills HOA has amended their CCRs to include or an exception for student achievement signs issued by the respective student school, recognition of achievement, and they have, you know, size limitations and all that. I am just asking for the board to go ahead and give us a motion to, or how should I put this? There's a handful of, yeah, give us a direction, because some of these signs are not, they're not violations. I mean, I included the one on the Good Grief 6 Foot Sally on your picture. That's lawn art. We've had this come in before with the haunted house was reported, and we had to take it to you guys. I just feel bad coming to you guys every time there's a signage violation, and we don't really think it's a violation if it's supporting the school. And the residents that are being harassed and complained upon have reached out to us and saying, we would like the board to, you know, help us show support for our kids. So
Okay,
they're
so
asking for an exception in the enforcement of signage.
question.
How do we go about doing that? Something about that.
Here's what I suggest. First of all, the people who have been complaining about being harassed, they're not complaining about you citing.
No.
Yeah. Again, this gets back to this spreadsheet that Linda Fabre has created, where she is citing these signs as violations. So what I think we need to deal with here is, I think just like we did for motorcycles, and just like the board did way before I got in the neighborhood dealing with burglar alarm signs, I think we need to agree that we will not enforce restrictions against certain kinds of signs. And I think we can say that signs involving scholastic achievement, signs that are clearly yard art, and signs that reflect some statement of serious belief, we're not going to act on. Now, what's important here is that we cannot possibly anticipate every kind of sign that might exist. But what we can do is to say that we're not interested in enforcing a prohibition against signs that are innocuous, that are yard art, that are achievement of academic students. And I think we need to accept that as time goes by, we may have to fine tune our definition of what's excluded. But I think we can begin by saying we don't want to enforce against scholastic achievement and against yard art and against signs that are small signs that reflect deeply held beliefs. Does that make sense, Bill Flickinger?
Well, we need to put it in the framework that we had for the other exceptions, which is we're going to have to determine that the board does not believe these adversely impact property values. And you're right, we need to be pretty specific when we start carving out an exception. because there's all kinds of signs. And of course, we know political signs are protected too. So I think we need to be a little more specific than you mentioned, and maybe even some size limitations and so forth.
So
I think so. I mean, if we see something that's like 10 feet across in the yard, we know that that's, you know, it covers their whole yard. Of course, you also now have the lawn art of the congratulations and the happy birthday signs that do take up a whole yard. So, you know,
They're temporary.
but they're temporary.
Inside. Yeah,
So
everybody's inside right now, so that's their deal for doing that for their kids for their birthdays.
Yes.
yeah. So I have a suggestion. Why don't we put a moratorium on enforcement against yard signs in general while we ask the attorney to help us draw up some language that would be more specific? In particular, I think we need to deal with size. I think we need to deal with the concept of yard.
Placement.
Yes?
Placement. If it's close to the
Placement.
front of the house.
Yeah, placement. I agree. I think placement is an issue also.
So what we can do is, instead of waiting until forever to put something into place, why don't we just put a moratorium on enforcement while we ask the attorney to help us define what we're talking about? And in the meantime, we'll have a moratorium on enforcement. And if we get a groundswell of complaints about that, then we can deal with it. I think the only groundswell we're going to get is going to be from Linda Fabre and Sarah Teal.
What
Okay.
about the deed restrictions as far as the HOAs? I mean, do any of the HOAs have anything prohibiting signage of any type?
Valente Hills has already amended their CCRs to include signs of student
Right.
accomplishment.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
Can't we
Hunter's
benchmark
Glen-
off that and use that as some kind of,
yeah, that's a good point, Art. I think we have to respect the decisions of the HOAs. And to the extent that any HOAs define this issue, I think we need to respect that. In the case of Anderson Mill West, we don't have an HOA and we don't have interpretations yet from the ACC. So what we can do is, perhaps it would be more appropriate to say that we'll put a moratorium on enforcement of anything that doesn't fall into the prohibitions defined by HOAs.
there you go. That's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to cover ourselves
Yeah.
for anything the HOA had put prior to us make any kind of decision.
And I think we ought to seek to have some kind of prompt resolution, which we'd be looking to Bill Flickinger for, to help us to come up with a series of definitions that would be reasonable and acceptable. But in any event, the HOA provision, the HOA rulings would supersede whatever we come up with, right?
Right. That's why I'm saying, Valente Hills could have one definition and it could be slightly different from Hunter's Glen, which could be slightly different from Lakeline Oaks. But I suspect they're probably, in general, as a community, I suspect we're all going to be supportive of, the signs about our, I'm proud of my band member, I'm proud of my Eagle Scout, I'm proud of my so-and-so student at Cedar Park High School.
As a point of context, I'd like to mention that one of the ways we dealt with this in the past was when people would put up signs about the scholastic achievement of their children, we would say, well, you're only going to keep that up for a week or two, so don't worry about it because the inspection process won't get you into a fine during that time. And I was never happy with that kind of resolution, because what that involves is saying, well, you're technically violating the rules, but we're not going to enforce it against you as long as you take it down within 2 weeks. That always seemed to me to be an unjust way to deal with it. I'm off my soapbox now.
Okay.
Louis, we need a motion on the moratorium you described.
Okay, so I move that we have a moratorium on enforcement of deed restrictions prohibiting signage in the yards, with the understanding that we will respect the rulings of the HOAs.
Good.
And
I
that
second.
You got it?
I didn't say how
Okay,
long.
we
Can
have
you
a
repeat
second?
that, please?
Let me add that the moratorium would be in place until we get some advice from the attorney as to how to confect this into some language that makes sense.
Bill, did you get it? Because I'm trying to get it for the minutes.
You're trying to get what?
I was trying to get all the wording in for the minutes. Checking to see if Bill got it.
Okay, so the motion would be to have a moratorium on the enforcement of prohibitions against yard signs until we have some resolution that we can prepare with the help of the attorney. And that during that time, we will respect the positions of the rulings of the HOAs.
During that time.
We will enforce what the HOAs deem to be enforceable.
Okay.
And I second.
Okay. We
That
have
was a
second.
motion, right, Lewis?
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, do we have any more discussion?
Art was a second.
Yeah, Art was second.
No, other than on the
I haven't
signage.
voted yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we have any more discussion on the signage before I call the vote? Okay, I'm gonna call the vote. Janice,
Yep.
Art,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Louis,
Yes.
and I say yes too. Okay, next issue.
That was the only issues that I had on our report. I included the spreadsheet in your hard packet with all my notes on everything else that's been corrected. You all can look at it on your own. I don't think we
Okay.
need to take any more time talking about it.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, we've already done 5, basically report from the DRC. Okay, 6, process for reporting deed restriction violations, including communications with SAGE and MIT directors. Do we have anything to discuss? I say no.
Nope.
7, bulk trash violations. In general, how are we looking? Diana?
We got an email recently from Waste Management that they had missed 6 or 7 streets and that they were going to get back to it later. We also had a board member call us and said, and let us know that the stuff did not get picked up on her street. And
Beyond that, there's a lot of people staying home and sweeping up the streets and taking care of their yards. So even though they may have picked up on a Wednesday or even Thursday, in some cases, people are loading up and putting it right back at the corner. So in a lot of cases, I'm watching them do it. I'm not going to report them for that because they're actually doing everything they can to keep from getting cabin fever right now.
And it's making the neighborhood look good.
It
I
does.
mean, we were
Everything-
out, there's a lot of landscaping projects. Families are working together out in the yard. We were out on Saturday when we delivered the packets, and there's a lot of work going on in people's yards.
Yeah, it's giving them something to do, so that's really good. As a family.
And while they're doing that, they're collecting a lot of leaves, they're collecting a lot of limbs, so it's,
Parents have got teenagers out helping older residents also, so it's a positive thing in the long run.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
nope, not on bulk pickup.
Okay, so agenda item 8, presentations by neighbor. Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry to interrupt you, but I have another meeting at 8:30, so I'm gonna have to leave you guys. So, just give me a call tomorrow. Give me a call tomorrow and catch me up. Thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Have a good evening. Be safe, everybody.
Yep. Okay. Okay, 8, presentations by neighborhood associations and homeowners associations within the district, reports from the ACC. Do we have anybody from the HOAs who want to make any comments? Okay, I'm going to say no. Okay, agenda item 9, request by neighborhood associations and homeowners associations related to deed restriction enforcement, March 2020 request by Beth Jones, president of Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association regarding the ACC. So I think this, yes.
You want me to give an overview first?
Yes, please do.
So y'all should have received it with the invite, a copy of not only the original letter from Beth Jones, but also the follow-up email, and where I asked for some additional information. And Beth, did you want to say anything additional before we discuss this? No. Oh, hold on, let me unmute you first. Did you have anything you wanted to say first?
Just what I said in the beginning, that, you know, I really would like you to consider to renew me so that I can, you know, help and we can be more involved again. That would be great, especially on helping with, you know, things that are going on now. It would be great to have all that back together with all the deed restrictions and stuff that's going on. It's, you know, it's important that we work together.
Okay, good. I'm going to mute you again, but if any of the board members have questions, I'll come back to you. Okay?
Thanks, Bill.
All right, so we had the original request that we got last time and the supplemental information. We, as a board, the MUD board really never discontinued recognizing the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, or ACC. What happened was, in response to a letter written by an attorney, the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, or ACC, decided to temporarily stop functioning in that capacity, whereupon I informed this board that until they decided to function again, there was really nothing for us to do. So it's not really that we're being asked to reinstate them. We're really being asked to for some indication as whether we will respect them going forward now if they want to reactivate. And so the ACC, Anderson Mill West, yes, was established by Bill Milburn as an independent organization, independent from the neighborhood association, controlled by the developer. And then over time, he decided he was on an ACC in 17 of his developments and he wanted to get out of it. So they went through an appointment process, and you probably all have seen the recorded documents. They decided that they had the authority to appoint other people. And that was followed for quite a while up to Galen getting appointed, who was president of the board, president of the board of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association at that time. You heard Barry Hawk talk last time, those of you with the meeting. Barry Hawk was with the neighborhood association early on, was active, coming to MUD board meetings, and then became a board director on the MUD, and eventually became board president of the MUD. And during that entire time, this process was recognized and followed. We're all aware Anderson Mill West does not have a mandatory association, and without a mandatory association, they have no difficulty in enforcing deed restrictions. So that they rely much more heavily on the MUD than some of the other areas that have mandatory associations. So I see this request more as, does the MUD have an objection to the ACC continuing and the neighborhood association, as opposed to us validating it? And I don't really see my role as providing a legal opinion per se, but to advise this board as to the potential consequences. I'm doing this in open session intentionally, so I'm going to give my legal advice, but it'll be more general than specific. We have done some research, and even in the absence of specific provisions in the declaration for this sequence of appointments, there is some case law that would support a theory defending this process and, in fact, justifying it. And having said that, what the board of the MUD is looking at is, if we accept a ruling by the ACC and it's eventually challenged in court, yes, we could be dragged into some litigation to interpret this, to justify it, just like the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association would be. However, I think you need to weigh that heavily against what would happen if we voluntarily decided to just surrender and not try to go forward. There's long history there's a great need for the organization and the ACC. It'd be very difficult to enforce deed restrictions without them. I think Diana would support that. It's difficult if you don't have some guidance from the ACC or rulings by the ACC. Having said that, I think the board decision is whether you want to go on as we've been going on for many years. And if there is a legal challenge, that we deal with it when it happens, knowing that there is some legal theory under which we could defend it. Or do you want to be concerned about the challenge that was presented by the other attorney and give the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association some feedback that's negative? We'll add on a later agenda item, we're going to be looking at the district rules. And part of that does recognize the neighborhood association as a party, absent, even outside the ACC, to give input into the process. And when I say input, as we know, we have a wide variety of neighborhoods. We have Lakeline Oaks, which is traditionally very, very strict, and Anderson Mill West, which is a little more lenient, and Valenti Hills that has rural power and maybe specific rules. So getting some input on like lawn maintenance, general maintenance, other issues is probably going to be helpful, even if it just comes from the neighborhood association. So I want to just kind of give that overview and then maybe open it for questions if you have a question on the actual issue here. But I do see that the board would have ample support. It's not a case that you automatically win or automatically lose. But if we had to go to court, I feel that we have a lot of factors that we could incorporate to justify the continuation. So let me stop there and ask for questions.
This is Lewis speaking. I'd like for Jimmy and Diana to reflect on the impact on their work. Cedar Park has stopped issuing building permits in our MUD. So the only control we have over any improvements is the ACC. So Jimmy and Diana, maybe you could reflect on how the absence of the ACC could impact your activities.
So in my work with homeowners associations all across North Austin, I work with Austin and Cedar Park, but you've got to understand that when developers came into the area well before the city, whether it be Cedar Park or Austin, the ultimate goal is to have home values appreciate. And where I grew up, there are colonias. And in our area, you've got unincorporated subdivisions like Shenandoah neighborhood. A short drive through these areas will show you the impacts of no restrictions and property values not staying up to the standards where you are. It's fairly close to where you are now. So ACC rulings and deed restrictions go hand in hand. You're not going to allow just anything to be thrown up. You're not going to be allowing additions to be going for naught. You're trying to be responsible in what you're doing. So your ultimate goal is the property values will be going up or appreciating, and that is ultimately what the rules are. Now, looking at it from what Lewis brought up, is very true. Cities do not want to get into telling people what they're doing because they don't win. In a neighborhood across 620 from you, I have the city of Austin calling me and asking for help. They don't want to pass certain things. And in a lot of cases, the ACC rulings in that neighborhood, which is larger than WTC, they ask for help getting not just ACC rulings worked out, but also deed restrictions where they can't work them out. It's interesting in Anderson Mill Limited District, their deed restrictions or ACC restrictions are stricter than the city of Austin. So their adherence to a better, nicer neighborhood is working for them. So it's always important to keep that in mind. The developers that work through this area intended for ACCs and deed restrictions to be part of their neighborhoods. They didn't intend for them to go away.
So this is Luis again. The situation we find ourselves in is that if anyone in Anderson Mill West wants to make an improvement to their home, under the provisions of the deed restrictions, they apply to the ACC for approval. It used to be that the approval process required the person submitting to check with Cedar Park to see if a building permit is required. Well, that requirement has gone away because Cedar Park is no longer requiring a building permit. So what we have now is a situation that if the ACC does not have that authority, then we have chaos. People can do anything they want and there's no recourse. So that's why I'm so concerned about maintaining property values to make sure that we can have some control over improvements.
Luis, let me add that across closely next to your neighborhood, there is an HOA that is in that situation that they went to the city and the city did not give them a permit, and they went ahead, the resident went ahead and started building a new addition to the house, and they did not have it approved by any contractor. They just started building on their own and the whole thing fell apart. And it's just for instance of what can happen, you know, if things aren't done properly and if there isn't any oversight.
Right. I also wanted to, make a comment about what you have when you don't have a neighborhood association and you don't have an HOA and you don't have an ACC. And that is what's going on in Hunters Glen too right now. The HOA, was allowed to become dormant. They don't have an ACC, and they have residents who are not happy with the building choices that are being made by their neighbors. And they don't have any recourse. They don't have any place for them to go. And I do not want Anderson Mill West to end up, which is, 60% of the whole neighborhood, to end up in that kind of situation. I think that my comments at the beginning of the meeting about what Bill Milburn's intention was when he created the ACC and he moved and he basically ceded it to the neighborhood association so that it would continue to be a community group whose purpose was to aid in the enforcement of deed restrictions, provide interpretations where when there was difficulty in terms of trying to understand what the definition of unsightly was. I think that up until we had a couple of angry residents come and start attacking our neighborhood, the process was working really well. And I don't think we would even be having this conversation if Linda Fobb and Sarah Teal were bored and were looking for something to do and attacking our community.
I don't want to burden the conversation, but I want to make one more comment. The deed restrictions were written during the time, and some things that we find today as very common did not exist. An example would be the pods. We have people moving pods into their driveways when they want to move, and they load them up with materials. The deed restrictions did not anticipate that kind of thing. And the findings by the ACC that made pods legal under very controlled circumstances served to address that issue that the deed restrictions did not address. So the continued existence of an ACC to make findings is really important as we progress and discover that there are things that come up that just weren't anticipated in the deed restrictions. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess the question I have then, Bill, is are we looking for a motion? What do we need to do?
I move that the MUD recognize the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association, ACC, again, as participating in the deed restriction enforcement process.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any more discussion that we want to add? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Art?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Louis?
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Okay. Well, we're back having another group helping us in this complicated path of deed restriction enforcement.
I'd like to
Okay.
add at this point, Catherine, that we have among us Chris Rocco. Chris Rocco goes way, 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 way back in the operation of the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association. And he has been instrumental in making the neighborhood association functional. And he appreciates the importance of the neighborhood association. Chris, you bring an invaluable history to our discussions.
Well, I want to make one point. I haven't said a whole lot. There's been some talk about taking away homeowners' rights. And I want to remind people that we're not governed by mob rule, okay? We're governed by a group of people that probably feel just like I do. And I have 3 principles that I've tried to operate with. 1, keep property values high. 2, keep monthly operating costs low. And 3, don't mess with me. I use another word. I think most people believes that the board has used its wisdom, its experience, and it goes a long way towards not taking away rights of homeowners. We don't take away rights. We help them keep their right. Their right to keep the home that they thought they bought when they bought it, whenever they bought it. You know, Catherine's right. We don't want this neighborhood to turn into a Shenandoah where anybody can build anything anywhere. That's all I've got to say.
Catherine, do we want Beth to say anything since we've taken the vote? Beth, you're muted, so we can't hear what you're saying.
Did you hear me?
Now we can.
Beth? Okay. Beth, did you want to add something?
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. And I'm excited that we'll be able to start doing things again. So this is exciting. It's good. And you know, it's so important to be able to make our homes and keep them the way that we bought them. You know, that was part of why I moved into this neighborhood, as many of you others. So I think a lot of people will be very happy to know that this happened. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 10, approval of minutes from prior DRC meetings.
We approved the February minutes last time, and the March meeting, you'll recall, was all one meeting. So it should be reflected in the minutes that Infomark's going to prepare. So I don't think we have anything today.
Okay, well, that makes me feel good. It's like I haven't found any prior minutes that I needed to read, so that makes me feel better. Okay. Agenda item 11, coordination of reporting between SAGE and Infomark on fines. How are we doing on that?
We're good. We're just all adjusting to working out of the house, but the computers are set up for Infomark, and Lee and I just made adaptations and chatted on the phone daily when we couldn't get a hold of each other via computer.
Okay, that's great, great, great. Okay, agenda item 12, lawsuit against owner of 2202 London Lane.
Now, the lawsuit's been filed, and the constable's in the process of serving the owner with process. So we haven't received confirmation of that yet, so we don't have a response to the lawsuit.
Okay. Do we have any other pending or legal actions that we need to discuss under this agenda item, Bill?
I guess, Diana, we didn't talk about this, but we have this property on Dayflower Trace, boat in the driveway, and we did send a demand letter.
It's clear.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
I guess there's nothing else then.
Okay. Agenda item 13, restrictive covenant agreement between district and Sage Management. And Bill, am I correct that you sent out a red line for all of us to look at?
Yes, just for the board's benefit, items 13 and 14 kind of go hand in hand, whereas the Sage contract refers to the rules. So when we amend the rules, we amend some of the functionality of what Sage would do. So what I included with the invite is a red line draft of each of those documents, showing the changes from the current agreement and the current rules.
And just to correct me, Bill, if I'm saying this incorrectly, one of the things that we did when we were going over the Sage contract is we pulled out everything that could be construed as part of the rules of enforcement and put them into the rules of enforcement, so that the rules of enforcement are going to be a document that stands by itself and directs the enforcement vendor, regardless of who that vendor is. So that was part of the reason why we're going through this big review of the rules of enforcement, because we've taken an awful lot of stuff that was in the management contract and put that into the rules of enforcement. Did I say that correctly, Bill?
That's fairly correct. What we tried to do was have reference to the rules as to what Sage would have to do. We did move the residents' rights to an appendix on their contract, so that was not put in the rules, but as an appendix. So yeah, in part we tried to do that. I think what we tried to do was amend the rules in a couple ways that made them clearer and actually simpler to enforce. For example, we no longer require any of the letters to go certified mail return receipt requested in the rules. That has not been of much benefit lately in the district. Most of the residents do not either, they don't get the notice in time to go to the post office, or they don't go to the post office. Nearly all the mail comes unclaimed. So regular mail is probably just as efficient. There's no legal requirement to be certified. So taking that off of the process will probably be a benefit. It would be less costly to the district and less of a hassle for Sage to have to deal with that. That was one of the changes we made. A lot of the other things were making it clearer and more simplistic as to what we did.
Now, Bill, I'm looking at the document you sent out, and it's blue and red. So how am I supposed to interpret the difference between the changes that are blue versus the changes that are red?
Well, that just means they were done at different times. They're all changed.
Okay. So the color itself doesn't have any specific meaning.
Correct.
Okay.
So I don't know if the board wants to address the rules first or the contract first, but they do go together. And also I'll add.
Mute it.
Mute it.
I'll also add that we do have these same items on the agenda Wednesday. So if we get to a point where we can't make a final decision today, we can on Wednesday if the board so chooses.
Well, I would like to suggest that we look at the rules for enforcement first, because I think it's, I don't know, chicken and an egg kind of thing. So let's start with the rules of enforcement first. So I think that's agenda item 14.
Right.
Okay. So has everybody had a chance to read these? You know, Louis and I have read these many times.
I'd like to make a comment about the rules changes. Let me get my video on. One of the things that has happened in the last few months is that we've had complaints from some of the HOAs about Linda Fabre going into their neighborhoods and filing complaints about them. And people have been upset about that. And so we've gotten letters from Valenti Hills and from Hunters Glen saying, please do not accept complaints from anyone that doesn't live in the district unless they come from the deed restriction enforcement manager. Well, now we're codifying that by putting it into the rules for enforcement. That is to say, if you've looked at them, you'll find that the rules for enforcement now provide that only people that live in a particular neighborhood can complain about deed restriction violations in that neighborhood. So that means that Linda Fabre is reduced to making complaints about Anderson Mill West, where she lives.
Right.
Chris, did you have to call back in?
Yeah, my phone dropped, and then now it's doing crazy things. It's muting and unmuting by itself, but
No.
I'm back. I
No.
called back.
I was muting you because I wasn't sure that was you, so you're okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Okay.
Catherine, how do you, I don't know, has the board had a chance to look at the red line of the rules?
I did. I reviewed them. I agree with them. They're fine.
How about you?
I'm really happy. I think we made some really important clarifications. One of the things that we're putting into our rules is that when a property is tenant occupied, both the owner of the property and the tenant will be considered violators, and both will receive the notices. You know, we have tried, you know, remembering we need to enforce that, but now we're just making it part of our rules, and I think that's a really important thing that we've added. I think we've also made some effort to try to put into the rules of enforcement what the whole process is for identifying those deviations. For instance, the whole issue of posting to the website things that we're not going to enforce, like the first responders' cars parked overnight on the street, etc. The signage that we're eventually going to probably have a discussion about in the coming months. That'll be will be handled in the same way. Okay, so do we have anybody else who wanted to make any comments? Okay, so if we don't have any more comments, then I'm going to make the motion that we accept the red line version of the rules for enforcement as they've been presented to us.
I'll second the motion. This is Louis.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other conversation or comments before I call the vote? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Art?
I say yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Louis?
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Okay. Okay, so now let's go back to the agenda item 13, which is the agreement between the board and Sage Management. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments that we want to make? Has everybody had the opportunity to read this one?
I'm reading it now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. While you guys are reading, I'll go ahead and repeat myself and say that a lot of the changes that we're making here are making references to the rules enforcement that we've just approved, and I think it's going to make it easier moving forward.
Catherine, can I point out a couple things about the contract?
Sure, please do.
First of all, the contract can be terminated without cause by either party with 60 days notice. So it's not a long-term commitment if there's adjustments to be made or if it doesn't work out well. So there's a low risk there. The pricing, the pricing is what it was before we started this process. We haven't increased it, even though there was a CPI increase could have been done in 2019. And we also put a provision that the prices would stay the same till 2020. Part of that, I think, and Catherine and Liz, you can correct me, part of that was to address that we are actually asking Sage to do less in some regards and more in other regards. For example, the Moores, we're now requiring them to come to all the board meetings, DRC and board meetings. They've been doing that voluntarily, but their contract didn't require them to come to both meetings. On the other hand, we're not requiring a software system like was required with the prior RFP. And there's some other adjustments in the rules that make it a little easier on them and cost us less, like the certified mail going away. So there's some balancing, and I kind of leave that up to the committee on the pricing issue. But it is you can terminate with 60 days notice. We've tried to craft the agreement where we feel that it would match what we really need, what's important in the process. Sage Management's been involved for quite a while now, and they have an approach that deals with people directly, which we didn't get from the other management companies. So there's a lot of value in that, and maybe less value in the complicated software issue. I also want to address the comment made previously in public comments. The district, as a MUD, does not have to go out for competitive bid on every contract. Service contracts in particular do not require competitive bids where you go and get 2 or 3 bids or go public on the bids. The rules for other state agencies, other governments, much different, where you might have to go out for bids on everything. So the comment that it would be illegal to approve this contract without going back out for competitive bids is not true. We did have a process that was set up years ago that had an RFP, competitive bids, because we really wanted to get somebody to do the job. We felt that the RFP needed to be very specific, but it's not legally required. It helped us craft the contract, but I guess in this case, the contract actually got a little more complicated than it needed to be in real life. So I'll stop talking there, and maybe people will have questions on the draft.
Bill, I'd like to add to that a little bit. One of the things on the software, at a prior meeting, since we collaborate with Infomark so much, Infomark had said that they were going to be moving all the MUD records to Google Drive, and we have been using Google Drive, and we decided to keep that so that we could just merge with Infomark and share everything. So it was a purposeful decision so that we could make it work with Infomark, with the system that they're going to.
Okay, I'd also like to comment that I think all of us are in agreement that the movement to sage management to do our deed restrictive enforcement has been a really positive and beneficial move on our part. I sort of didn't realize how broken the process was until I saw how much better the process could be. And so I'm really happy with the service and the community involvement that we're getting from Sage Management.
Yay!
Yeah, the bottom line is results, and I think we've achieved those. So I think I can concur with Catherine on that.
Yeah, and I'd like to add.
Achieved tremendous results, and I'm happy with all of them. So.
Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing what, getting out and talking with your neighbors, it makes solving problems so much easier when you're willing to get out of the car and talk to somebody.
And
You
Catherine,
can have all the data in the world, but if you don't have the information on a personal case-by-case basis, then you really can't make an informed decision. So it can be data rich, but information poor.
Catherine, I'd like to add that a part of what we see going on here is that most deed restriction enforcement companies deal with HOAs, and HOAs are very, very different than MUDs. We're a public entity, HOA is not. And so companies that deal with deed restriction enforcement for HOAs do all sorts of things that we want done, but they couldn't do for us. Getting out of your car, talking to people, trying to get a consensus about problems. The companies that do deed restriction enforcement for HOAs just don't do that. They won't do that. So it's like a breath of fresh air to have people in the community enjoy talking to the person who's doing the deed restriction enforcement, because he's not pressing them in a combative way. He's talking to them about what they're going to be doing. And so I'm also very pleased.
Okay, do you want to make the motion, Louis?
Yes, I move that we accept the contract as worked out and as presented to the board.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion?
I want to ask Bill Flickinger something. Bill, I'm not asking your opinion of what you think about the contract. I just want to know, were you involved with the production of it to the point where you feel like the board members who were involved addressed everything that needed to be addressed? And was their logic that they used to develop it, was it sound? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, Chris, I do. Matt McPhail, my office, was also involved. We started the process by meeting with the DRC and then meeting with Sage to get a handle on, what needed to be changed. And then more recently, I spent a number of hours working with the DRC on this particular red line draft. So I feel it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, I just, I hear such horrible things about Sage that I'm trying to reconcile in my mind. The logic that's being used to generate some of the comments. I've been involved with deed restrictions and enforcements for a long time, and I was hesitant, as y'all probably remember, when we decided to hire Sage. But what we don't hear is things like, we don't hear residents saying, "But you don't understand," because we do understand, because Jimmy and Deanna go out and the rest of their staff, and they talk to people, and they find out what is causing the problem, and they try to deal with it. And that approach has been lacking in the past. And that one thing, I don't remember any of the other vendors that came to us that were going to do anything like that. So having said that, I'm done.
Okay. I'm going to call the vote then. Art,
I say yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Louis,
Yes.
and I vote yes too. Okay. Okay, I guess we're agenda item 15, funding for an interaction with neighborhood associations. I don't believe there's anything here tonight. Agenda item 16, answers to prior questions from residents regarding district matters. I don't have any. Louis, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Okay, then I just need somebody to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
Okay, got a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
And we all say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.